been followed by multiple television series set in that same galaxy far, far away, and all airing across Disney+. The series span out from different anchors in the Star Wars timeline, and some conjure narratives that mix live action with animation. The most popular Star Wars television series, and likely the firmest fan favorite for some time to come, is the franchise's first ever live-action series, The Mandalorian. Premiering as a launch title with Disney+, The Mandalorian traces the tale of the titular bounty hunter. Real name Din Djarin, this Mandalorian travels across the fictional galaxy with the Child, real name Grogu, though affectionately known to Mandalorian fans as Baby Yoda. Since its launch, The Mandalorian has been mostly regarded as one of Star Wars' most engaging and exciting sagas. Disney has been commended for a most praised and highly acclaimed series, creating characters with gravitas and originality, worlds with depth and impact, resulting in some of the best Star Wars content ever. Star Wars and myth. Science fiction like Star Wars can be considered myth. Like the Greek myths of old, as well as the myths of King Arthur and the myths of the Old and New Testaments, these stories are not actual history, but nonetheless articulate some other kinds of truth. For example, there may or may not have been a historical Arthur. In a way, the question is irrelevant. What matters is that the myths surrounding his name represent something real about the Dark Ages in Britain. They're not lies. They represent a different kind of truth. They speak to us about important human values, about valor and kingship, about determination and loyalty, about doing the right thing, and about faith and renewal. Science fiction can also be a form of modern myth. In his famous sci-fi novel, Last and First Men, British writer Olaf Stapledon tells the reader that his tales are an attempt to see the human race in its cosmic setting and to mold our hearts to entertain new values. Using science theories such as evolution and relativity, Stapledon suggests that attempts to imagine the human evolutionary future must take into account whatever contemporary science has to say about humans' own nature and his physical environment. As a result, Olaf Stapledon produced science fiction stories that took in the most recent concepts of cosmology and evolutionary biology. In this way, he created a new fusion of fact and fiction, a form of fable for a scientifically cultured 20th century. In the words of Olaf Stapledon, the aim must not be just to create aesthetically admirable fiction, but myth. The Mandalorian is cast in a similar mold. The Star Wars galaxy presents a humanoid race in a cosmic setting. Science concepts such as evolution and relativity and many more are either strongly implied or indirectly referenced in the texts. What began as a modestly budgeted 1977 film made from a B-movie remix script has astoundingly burgeoned into myriad high-budget sequels, prequels, spin-offs, video games, and merchandise. Star Wars series, like The Mandalorian, permeate contemporary culture because they work so well as modern myth-making. Some commentators have criticized the sequel trilogy to Star Wars. The problem, they say, was that the sequel trilogy told, essentially, the same tale as the original trilogy. The Empire, demolished at the end of Return of the Jedi, is suddenly back on its throne and has to be vanquished all over again. Our Republican warriors, conquerors at the end of Return of the Jedi, are popped back into their place as plucky rebels and outlaws. Why? Because the myth that holds sway throughout Star Wars is the conflict between the individual and the overwhelming exterior forces of society, empire, and galaxy. Star Wars also makes us compare our own highly technologized world with the Star Wars galaxy, which is a world beyond machines, a world where Jedi faith is as important as the certainties of science. The status of Star Wars as a myth is very important. It's the reason the initial B-movie script went from Harrison Ford's "George, you can type this shit, but you can't say it," to globe-encircling success. It's all down to that mythic status, and the Janus-faced nature of the Star Wars myth is this. On the